Okay, this is the October 6th, 2020 Executive Committee meeting of the Troy Community Land Bank. Okay, I've got the recording back on and I already teed up what meeting this is about before you guys all joined. So as I said, Heather's not going to be able to join us. So Suzanne, guess what?
Ooh. Okay, let me pull up the docs. Hang on a sec. I have two screens. I'm gonna put them on the other screen.
Okay. Let's see here.
Okay. Okay. So I guess I'll call roll, or should I call the meeting to order? The time is 4:42 on October 6th, 2020. Calling this meeting of the Executive Committee of the Troy Community Land Bank to order. And roll call, Brian Barker.
Here.
Sharon Nichols.
Here.
Heather King is absent. Suzanne Spellin is here. Catherine Hedgeman is here, and Tony Tozzi is here. So first call of business is, did everyone get a chance to read the minutes from the September meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay,
Yeah.
all in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, minutes are approved. Moving on to the action items. The purchase option agreement for 806, 810, 812, 879, 881 River Street and 102 West Glen Avenue. Discussed, please.
I will take that one. We just had the A&D meeting, and what you have in front of you is the final option agreement as proposed to TCLB. Jeremy Root, the attorney for Beacon Communities, and myself worked on this quite a bit. The corresponding document is the other document pertaining to 809, 814, and 834 River Street, which are the Vesta parcels. So Vesta has to enter into an option as well, you know, so that the whole deal fits together with all the properties. So both will be executed simultaneously. In connection with this, if you recall, we discussed that we would have a maintenance agreement in place where Beacon would reimburse the land bank for maintenance and insurance costs of maintaining the property through December 2021, should it take that long to close. So I sent that to their attorney today, waiting feedback on that, but that would be executed simultaneously with the option agreement. And I think that's it in a nutshell.
Okay.
So are we at the 2021 annual budget?
We gotta just put that on the agenda. We'll advance that to the board agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a note on that. Finance looked at it at the last monthly meeting in September, and we started off with a negative, with a deficit going into 2021. So I need to go through and take another look at it. I'm pretty confident we can we can make changes so that we will be rolling in the green rather than the red in 2021. But I just need to put the numbers together and haven't had a chance.
Is this the budget for Paris that we need to post here in October?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, well, good job with that.
Not yet.
I don't know how You guys are awesome. I guess moving on to the deed covenant requirements.
Yeah, I'm not sure that really needs to be on this agenda. It was more an A&D thing, but just to give you a really quick update, it appears that we may have a different requirement for the round 4 funding than we did for the round 3 funding, in that in round 3, it was our understanding that 80% of the units that are properties that we sell, the folks that live there need to have incomes, or 80% of the folks that live there need to have incomes that are 100% of area median income or less. And it looks right now like they may have changed that. So instead of looking at it from the wider perspective of all the units, they're looking at it project by project. So that makes the math work a lot differently. Kate said she would take a look at both round 3 and round 4 agreements to see, to take a look to see how she reads it. Hopefully she finds a way to read it differently than I did. But that's why it was more an A&D thing. Once we have a better handle on what the situation is, we'll have to proceed accordingly if we have to make changes to the bylaws or whatever.
So just out of curiosity, our properties, well, I can't even think of who we sold them to who has big piles of money. So
the only property we have sold with round 4 funding in it was 3325 6th Avenue. And that was sold to Ned Dunphy, who's a student. But the resident will be, at least initially, his father, and then probably Ned himself afterwards. His father's moving up here from Long Island. So that's a perfect example for an individual project. If the requirement is that project has to have 80% of the households with an income that's 100% less of area median, then that's a problem. If we're looking at all the units, then that's definitely not a problem. So it's something we have to really understand better, and then take whatever action we need if we need to take any action.
isn't that a 2-unit building?
Right now, it's a 1 unit. When they submitted their application, they made a really good explanation of why they think it was originally a 2 unit, and that they'd be going to the zoning board to request that it go back to a 2 unit, 2 family.
Okay.
And I think everyone understood that when the board passed it. So that was just kind of a topic of discussion, just to let A&D know what's going on with that. I suppose it can't hurt to let executive committee know.
Okie doke. Well, I guess, yeah, we'll have to wait to see what your committee, with what A&D does, and then we can deal with it. I guess moving on to item E, TCLB property application and enforcement policy review.
Yep, that's me again, Kate. We discussed at A&D and they approved moving it to the agenda. I had proposed some changes to the application, mostly to rectify, some issues we were having, and also to put a procedure in place. And you'll see the attorney-client privilege memo I had sent to the committee attached to the board materials, and that kind of outlines how I think the process, should go moving forward. But what's before you today is a revised application, And the short of it is I added an asset management fee to the terms and conditions of the purchase of all our properties. And other land banks have added that fee because from the time we close to the time we release the enforcement mortgage, we have to manage and inspect these properties, right? So there's staff time associated with that. And many times, you know, we need to modify things and timelines. And so, you know, I added that fee to the terms and conditions so that it's disclosed from the get-go that in addition to the purchase price, we'll be looking for a 3% fee as well to manage the enforcement piece. The next page as well I added was about the enforcement process. And the enforcement procedure as outlined and amended in our disposition policy from August 2019, I took that policy and pretty much put the enforcement process and the timeline for reporting and inspections of the property, which we really had not been doing well. So at A&D, they also discussed having SEAT take over that process, which will be great if they're willing to do that. And then, you know, work with Tony and my office on making sure that there's compliance with these steps and also the self-reporting that, you know, is required. So placing this in the application was so that the buyers would see this again while they're applying, so that when we went to contract phase and even gotten so far as to some closings, and I get the call that buyer had no idea that there was an enforcement mortgage and they're not doing this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, quite frankly, this is a real property program and it is very different than just buying and rehabbing a foreclosed property. So one of the things we hadn't done, and it was very important to do, is to set out what's expected, that what the enforcement mortgage means, what inspections and reports we're going to require, and have the buyer sign that they read and they understand it, so that when we get to the contract phase, that, you know, I don't hear that from somebody's lawyer or from their realtor or, you know, from the buyer themselves. The other piece of this too is, and you'll see in my memo, we need to collect a deposit up front equal to 5% of the purchase price. And the reason for that is, as you know, 103 Ferry is just a perfect example. We've had several buyers apply, we've spun our wheels, we've approved it, and then they back out for whatever reason. But mostly, you know, they're hesitant about the enforcement mortgage or the time frame that we want them to complete the property, whatever the issue is. And at that point, we can let them out, but we should be keeping that deposit, because all those months that property was off the market and we're, you know, spending time and energy approving it, and yet, you know, they could just back out for whatever reason because it hasn't gone to contract yet. So that's really been a standard procedure of the Albany and Syracuse land banks for a long time now. And so, you know, when an application comes in, it won't be complete unless and until they pay the application fee along with the 5% deposit. Now, if they are not chosen to purchase the property, and in your case, you really don't have multiple applicants on a lot of these, so it's not too big of an issue. Sometimes, you know, Albany would get 12 applicants for one property, and then you're dealing with down payments from all those 12 applicants. But, you know, I could hold the down payment and escrow, and if they're not chosen, that is refundable. But if we do choose you and you don't go to contract, you forfeit that. Because the application procedure is supposed to be a bona fide offer to purchase. And, you know, we can't have people backing out, after we're budgeting income into our budget and then the deal falls through, we've got to do this the right way. So any further applications coming in must have that. And, I think Tony and I have to work on a few more changes and also maybe a cover sheet checklist so that it's explained that they need to put, that 5% down. I think those are the major changes. I know, Tony had some other things that, we'll do the next round that weren't so much as important as these. But, I think over the next couple months, we'll get with SEAT and we'll hammer out a cleaner process and also tighten it up so that we're not left holding the bag on properties that we can't seem to get to contract phase. So I'd like to propose these changes to the application to the board at the next board meeting.
I do have one additional item on the agenda that I forgot to put on there. We received bids to the 7 Park Avenue demolition RFP, and that really ought to go on the agenda for this month.
Yes. So Tony received a couple of bids. There's the lowest responsible bidder is Christo, and so it would be on the agenda for a resolution awarding the contract to Christo and approving the contract.
So can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
In the past, we've worked with City of Troy for demos. We're not doing that?
Not unless you want to find another new executive director.
Okay.
Only on those demos that we had a pre-existing agreement.
Yeah.
For those,
Okay.
Normally, these are bid out, and the bidders that actually responded, I recognize all of them. Albany does business with Christo and WPNT.
Okay.
So, they're well-known, and used contractors that, specialize in these type of things.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sharon, to be more serious about an answer on that. Every time the city has done the demo work for us, in my opinion, it's cost us more money, and the coordination was just unbelievably a mess. Even getting bills from the city so I could pay them.
Okay.
So it was just a disaster.
Okay.
And the last go around was especially a disaster. One really good thing is we had budgeted $60,000 based on an architect's estimate of what it would cost to demolish 7 Park Avenue. And you can see the 3 prices. They were all significantly below that. The low bid from a very well qualified bidder, $27,890, is less than half of what we budgeted. So,
okay, awesome.
We can use those funds probably at 3229 6th Avenue, a reallocation of funds.
Okay.
Tony,
Yeah.
you have an odd file up on the share.
Oh boy, I don't know what I thought I was sharing the Excel sheet, so.
You did, but you got rid of it as fast as you put it on.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want to see it again?
Yes, that would be helpful. Suzanne, thank you, because I wasn't sure if it was just me that saw that flash and then it went away.
Do you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
That's okay. Huh, so all 3 of them are below the 60,000 and 2 of them are like half.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So.
Yeah.
And these are all good demo contractors.
The days to complete is interesting.
Yeah, that's not actually accurate because they have to do some asbestos remediation. So I think they're counting the days to complete. I think the 14-day guy is probably including the hazmat stuff, and the other two are just showing the number of days it'll take to demo,
Gotcha.
okay. Fill in, and
So this is a wood frame house, right?
yeah, it's a smallish 2-story wood frame. And then once this is demolished, it'll be an assemblage of really the space of 3 lots on Park Avenue that hopefully will become one of the RPI Habitat TAP TCLB partnership projects for a new build.
Oh, that'll be great.
Yeah, you know, time will tell. It's still pretty early in that, but hopefully that's where it'll go.
Yeah, I would just love to see us building instead of tearing down. I mean, I understand why we tear down, but.
Yeah, I agree. So,
Okay.
so you guys are okay with putting that on the agenda?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks.
So I believe that's it, unless someone has anything else.
I do. I have a question. In looking at the minutes from last month, under Roman numeral 5, other, we had a note that Tony and Suzanne were expected to review proposals for website redesign. And
Oh, crap.
it indicates that it would be on the October agenda. I was just wondering if anything.
That definitely should have been on there. My apologies.
Okay, well, we did have, marketing had a meeting the other night. And we got in 3 RFPs for website design. And we decided on one company, and we were planning on presenting that at the board meeting.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Oh, it's okay now that you caught it in time.
Yep, good catch.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It was on my list.
That's the accountant in me. We dot every I and cross every T. Or at least we try to.
The reason I became a planner is when I screw up, nobody knows for about 20 to 50 years.
Yeah, I'm on a shorter leash. The IRS gets back to people usually within the 3-year statute of limitations.
Aha.
So I'm held accountable quicker.
So if they don't catch you within 3 years, you're safe?
For the most part, unless there's fraud, yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, well, if that's everything, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Yep. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting's adjourned.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.
See you on
Thank
the
you.
21st or whenever it is.
The
Take care.
23rd, if not sooner.